We're so glad that you're here today. Listen, if you are in a place where you need encouragement, there are very few people that I think I can direct you to, and very few interviews that will show the vast array of encouragement, of giving, and how when you give, you're getting back. I mean, hey, we're going to put a priest on the spotlight right now. So it's Monsignor Paul. We're so glad you're here. He wrote the book, Along the Way, A Priest's Journey of Joys and Challenges. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, listen, is there a way that you can just begin by telling us what the general book message is?
Well, when I was approaching 50 years of being a priest, I thought it was time to look back at all the stories that shaped my priesthood and, the different opportunities the Lord had given me to help shape other people's lives. And I began to reflect on the wealth of stories. In the introduction to my book, I mentioned that, so many times someone like Michelangelo had such great imagination that he would look at a block of marble and see David or Moses and feel that he had to release David or Moses from the block of marble. And I kind of felt the same way. I felt that I had to, release a message that had, not only characterized my life, but as an example to others of the messages they have in their lives. That to look at the significance of their own lives and the impact that other people have had on their lives, and it became a wonderful, experience of great gratitude. So despite the challenges, the joys seem to outweigh the challenges.
Did you have challenges? You're a priest. I don't know. Sitting on the outside, I'm being sarcastic, but sitting on the outside, we go, man, you're a man of God. You're protected. You're in a bubble. My life, if I told you, your toes would curl. Like tell me about how you're relating to people and how if they have a story that's like, yeah, mine's not a priest story. Share that connecting point with me.
Well, the bubble gets bursted too. I think in a section of my book called Essays, which I try to reflect on my own philosophy of things. And one particular essay is called Loaves and Fishes. And it's really about that issue of efforts and results. That so often we try to manage the results, and that really belongs to God. Our job is efforts, like the little boy who gave 5 loaves and 2 fish, which didn't seem like much, but he put it in the hands of God. And look what Jesus did. He multiplied the loaves and fishes and fed a multitude of people. In that particular chapter, I talk about some of the real challenges, how sometimes we don't see results to all our efforts, that there are frustrations, but how you always have to keep your eyes fixed on the Lord, because he's the master of the results. And as long as we're doing our part, we're giving our 5 loaves and 2 fish, well, the Lord will do the rest.
So you're weaving all this amazing experience, whether it's positive or negative, into encouragement and sharing how to move forward and have greater faith through all of it.
Yes.
Oh, it's amazing.
And I think that is the challenge. And as I reflected on the book of the give and take, in a sense, lessons learned and lessons taught, which is really going to be the topic of my second book. I thought of the fact that every time you thought you were imparting some sort of wisdom, you were also gaining wisdom, from the people that you were ministering to. And you gain a perspective. And I guess I wanted to encourage other people to have a perspective with regard to their lives, with regard to, their experience of life, that there's much in the world that can discourage us, but with the eyes of faith, as St. Paul tells us, we walk by faith and not by sight. That faith gives us a whole new vision and a whole new way of approaching things that sight is limited in giving us.
Who actually is your intended audience? Is it for senior people who have lived a good life and have a lot of stories to share wisdom about, or who are you targeting?
In general, it's everyone. I mean, I had a focus, and my focus were priests and seminarians. To encourage them, along the way. but the book is general enough that I think anyone can relate to it. A young person, a senior, because I think everyone gets to the point of wondering, of asking the deeper questions like, why am I here? What's it
Mm,
all about? Where am I going? Am I making a difference? And I think that's what the book tries to address. I try to keep brother priests in mind, and, because of some of the unique experiences that, from the perspective of being a priest, and seminarians, who are preparing for the priesthood. But I think the book, even though that may be part of my focus, it's still a general focus in terms of a very
yeah,
general audience.
yeah. The one thing that really stood out to me about it is the fact that you really value people. And I would imagine after hearing so many confessions, some people could get really down on the human race, but your book is so positive, and you talk about the value of people and loving people and helping them, and that's a big part of your book, and it's very profound. Can you expound more on that?
Yes, particularly in the section of my book called Pastoral Vignettes. Many of them are funny incidents that occurred over the years, but have a serious content to them. And it's where you really learned about human nature, and where you learned about the goodness of people, even in circumstances where they didn't see their own goodness.
Mm,
Uh, but it was an opportunity to to proclaim the good news to them. That their
mm,
lives mean something, even if they don't think so. Uh, and I think that it's in, even as Jesus pointed out in his ministry, when he approached people like the woman caught in adultery, or Zacchaeus, or the prodigal son, or the good thief, or the woman at the well. His message was always the same, that they were worthwhile.
mm,
The very heart of, particularly, the Bible, it's found in the opening pages. That we're made in the image and likeness of God, and that we have a dignity that no one has the right to take from us, and we don't have the right to take from ourselves. And yet that seems to be something, even though it's proclaimed, it's not necessarily believed. It's
mhm.
people about the experience of their lives.
That's such a great. We could talk many, many hours, but I think that you and I both agree that there's life with God and there's life without God.
Yeah.
Um, uh, what is over the past years that you've been, a priest? What would you say, or can you say, what a general big boulder is that's separating? What's causing that chasm between people who don't have God and people who have God?
Well, I think it's the fact that I think everybody has a God, and the problem is taking the focus off the real God, and realizing that whatever you're making a God in your life is just not going to fulfill you unless it's the real God. I
Mm,
think of Hebrews, where it says, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, and not on the circumstances, but on Jesus. I think of Peter walking on water, and he was
mhm,
able to do so as long as he kept his eyes on Jesus. But the moment he looked at the circumstances, he sank.
mm,
And I
mm.
think that many people are frustrated because their gods don't work, and they don't know that.
Yeah,
And they're
stronghold.
too
Yeah.
easily they easily dismiss God, because they're really dismissing not God, but their image of God. And it's often their image of God that stands in the way of finding the real God.
I want to visit one of the essays, The Impossible Dream.
Hmm.
Would you talk about that?
Well, I always consider myself somewhat of an idealist, but a realist. And what I was always fascinated. It's my favorite Broadway play. In fact, I even did a retreat using the themes of the Man of La Mancha as the substance of the retreat. But in The Impossible Dream, it talks about something that always looks beyond our grasp, but we still strive for it. And then it raises the question of, what are you willing to pay to get there? And I think that uh, it's a quest in life, that if we keep our eyes, fixed on, what looks impossible, and yet with God's grace and strength is possible, and that we keep focused, then
Mm,
whether we see it or not, it'll come about in some way, in the
well,
way God wants it to.
absolutely. I've experienced that. And I think a lot of people that are listening and watching this have probably also said, yeah, I can point to that time. I want to give you the final word before we start to wrap up. Do you have any thoughts as we begin to end?
I just think that we again, I would point out that we live in a world of great discouragement, and our only weapon to fight that is encouragement. But not to encourage people in a superficial way with platitudes or, or rather flattery, but true affirmation. And I think that what the book tries to do is to affirm the human experience and the interaction with God. That it's that true affirmation that enables us to believe in ourselves and to believe in God.
It's so absolutely true. So many of us are broken and hurt, and we have these big gaping holes. What are we going to fill that with? Is it going to be negative? Is it going to be destructive? Or is it going to be picking up your book and just at least reading one page? What are we filling our head and our heart and our spirit with? Thank you so much for joining us today. Monsignor Paul, along the way, a priest's journey of joys and challenges. We thank you so much. Bless you.
Thank you very much.